Fabian.
Hi.
Thank you for your participation. These are the questions we have for you. Question number 1. Could you give a brief introduction of yourself?
My name is Fabian Scheidler. I'm a journalist, an author, and also a dramaturg and playwright. Around 2002 I started to do a lot of political work for Attac. We've had a series of panels and things like that in Berlin. And in 2009 I founded the independent newscast Kontext TV. And in last year I published my book The End of the Megamaschine, a brief history of a failing civilization. So this is what I'm occupied with now.
In your book, Das Ende der Megamaschine, you mention 4 tyrannies. Could you please tell us where would you exactly place the market? And how would you achieve more social justice?
Market mechanisms in general are part of structural violence. When you look at markets, and this is true for global markets as well as for vegetable markets, then it's not sufficient to look at the place and say, well, it's a nice place and people exchange things and it's peaceful. No, you have to look at the conditions around the market, which allow some people to have money and to be able to purchase things, and other people not to have money and to be excluded from even fulfilling their basic needs like eating. And so markets, there's all this mythology about markets that it has to do something with freedom. Yeah, it's freedom for some, but what about those who don't have the money? And why are they lacking the money? And this is part of structural violence. What I propose, and I think a lot of social and ecological movements are sort of converging or agreeing in that basic point, is that the basic needs should not be exposed to market mechanisms. And if you leave that to the market, you will always get these some who have a lot and some who don't have, and some who get indebted. The history of the last 5,000 years is full of examples that if you leave that to the market, you will get concentration of wealth and poverty and indebtedness on the other side, which are always two sides of the same coin. So the idea of fundamental social and ecological and cultural rights of people is a way to say no. They are not exposed to markets, and you can do it in different ways. You can do it in a way that the state guarantees you access to these goods, or you can do it through community organization. So you do it by yourself, you don't rely on the state. Different ways to do that, but that is, I think, a central thing. In any case, if you talk about markets, you shouldn't confuse it with capitalism, because capitalist markets, as I said, are highly subsidized and highly monopolized, and they don't have, even economically, they don't have much to do with freedom.
Given the emphasis that degrowth thinkers place on community-level action, who do you think should be in charge of bringing about the social transformation, the state or the community?
I would say we need both. Because if you go the community way, there is a danger that you leave the state off the hook, and that plays into the hand of neoliberalism. The state always, in the times of austerity, states are very happy if you say, well, you don't have to provide education, you don't have to provide clean, we are doing it ourselves. No, I think you should still say you have to provide that, and you have signed the Convention on Water, the Human Rights Declaration, and so you have to implement that. That's very important. On the other hand, we should also build our own structures and create structures in the community which are resilient, because I think the crisis of the world system, which is a crisis of the economy, but also the crisis of nation states, will go on. And so we need more resilience, which is an idea which comes from permaculture and many other areas, and in the transition town movements. It's very important, and I think that it's a good idea to say, let's do as much as we can in our communities. Let's try to get, as I mentioned, the energy grid back to our communities. Let's get some parts of agriculture back to our communities, deglobalize the economy, which is not the same as renationalization or something like that. So it's about reviving communities, which has a lot of advantages, because people will get more involved in communal life again, and will develop new skills, and this is very important in times of crisis. But I think, so I wouldn't say let's do it in the community, leave the state off the hook. Let's do both.
Given the current status quo, what is your point of critique towards the state behavior, and what should be done differently?
Yeah, my point was that we hear all this rhetoric about free markets and everything, but when you look at the globalized so-called free markets, actually they are highly subsidized by states. This is true, for example, for fossil fuel industries. They are subsidized by the very conservative estimates of the International Energy Agency by around $540 billion each year, which is stunning. And you can go on with the car industry. Another striking example is the financial industries. In 2008, practically the whole financial system has broken down, and the biggest banks that we have, whether it is Deutsche Bank in Germany or whether it is Citigroup in the United States or Goldman Sachs or whatever, they only exist today because they were rescued by states. Now they are highly subsidized, and the subsidy in the banking sector, for example, creates huge profits, because everybody knows that the big banks, the so-called too big to fail banks, cannot go bust. So they will be rescued anyway, so you can invest in them with any kind of junk investment, and you will get rescued in the end. So it is extremely subsidized, not only with billions, but with trillions of dollars or euros. I think some of the most profitable industries in the world can only exist and can make profits because they are subsidized by the citizens, by their taxes. And this is true especially in our era, but this is true also for the 500 years history of the modern world system, of the capitalist world system. I mean, the huge companies that were created, for example, in the 17th centuries, the first corporations, they were highly subsidized by the states. They had privileges as monopolies. So this is another point. States create monopolies through a lot of mechanisms. One is patents. Patents also are a means to create sort of monopolies which create huge profits. So there has never been a free market in capitalism in the last 500 years. But as we have a structural crisis of capitalism which has started in the mid-70s and which is going deeper and deeper and deeper, profits are going down structurally. We have a structural crisis in the system, and so the need for profit-making companies to get subsidies to keep going becomes ever greater. And now the point is, for example, from an ecological and from a social perspective, those who get subsidies are the wrong ones. I don't argue against subsidies, because I think we need the state to direct part of the economy for the well-being of the citizens. So there need to be some kind of intervention. But who gets rescued? Who gets subsidized? It's really the evildoers. It's those who create climate change. It's those who create these huge social divisions on the planet. It's those who externalize costs the most, with the most ecological and social damaging companies. When you look at the list of those who get the subsidies, they are subsidized. And I think we should reverse this completely. We should cut all these subsidies for those companies, for the profit-making companies, and we should put the money into companies who work, or structures or social forms of organization that work for the common good.
Thank you so much, Fabian.
It was nice talking to you. Bye.